Okay, fantastic. So welcome everybody to today's Commodities Corner presentation presented by myself, Phil Carr, at the Gold and Silver Club. So during today's session, we will of course be going through live market analysis. We'll talk you through a watch list of trade ideas. We've got several trade ideas that I'll go through with you when we go through the charts. We'll go through a forecast of where we expect gold, silver, crude oil, the commodity currencies to be heading next. We'll be answering questions and of course providing live support. So before we get into it, let me introduce you to the Gold and Silver Club. The Gold and Silver Club is regarded as the go-to authority on commodities trading, as internationally respected experts. Our analysis and our opinions on the metals, energy and the agriculture markets, they're routinely sought by major financial television channels and publications, which include Bloomberg, Reuters, CNBC, the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal. Over the last 10 years, myself and my team of experts, we have trained and mentored thousands of private traders from all over the world on our exclusive research-driven strategies. So for further information on our services, please go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. Okay, fantastic. I'm also going to post into the chat there. I will put in the description for everybody here a link so that you can also get access to our free reports. Okay, so during the course of the week, we provide everybody with let me just put that there for you. There we go. We provide a complimentary report midweek and at the weekends as well. There'll be another report which will be out tomorrow, and that's on YouTube. That is the week ahead commodity report and the midweek commodity report. And if you watch that, certainly at the weekend, we went through good trading opportunities for selling short oil this week and also for long opportunities on gold. And of course, gold has broken out to 2-month highs this week, and oil also has had a significant drop, over 2% move that we saw yesterday. So that's worked out really well. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because that way you get kept updated with all of the latest reports. And that, of course, is complimentary to you. And make sure you subscribe to binary.com as well. That way you are kept updated with all of the recordings from the webinars as well. Okay, fantastic. So with that, let's get into it and we'll go over our favorite trade ideas right now. As always, you have an opportunity to ask questions, contribute during the course of the session. You've got that within the chat. So if there are any questions or comments, try and do that whilst I'm going through the markets, if possible, rather than right at the end of the session, because then if we do that when we're going through the analysis, we can actually have a look at your questions whilst we're going through the markets as well, if there are any questions. If not, that's not to worry at all. Okay, good. So with that, let me move over to the charts and I'll talk you through some of the trade ideas that we are looking at right now. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen very shortly. Okay, so we'll have a look first of all, just the overall sentiment of the market. So just to give you a bit of a feel of what is happening right now, what's moving, what's not moving at the moment. So firstly, with respect to the commodity currencies, we're seeing a bit of a lift here actually at the moment on the Australian dollar, US dollar. I'll get into that shortly. I do actually see a buy opportunity on the Australian dollar, US dollar right now. If we have a look at the top movers of the day, those include crude oil, which is up over 1%, and that's WTI crude oil. Silver, where we have a position on at the moment, is up 0.5% on the day. And we saw, of course, yesterday, gold broke out to 2-month highs. We're seeing strength today in the Australian dollar, Swiss franc, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So the Australian dollar is in play at the moment. It's getting quite well supported. We're also seeing a bit of support for the euro, pound today as well. And we've got some weakness. Broadly speaking, we're seeing some profit taking here on gold, on platinum, on the euro, New Zealand dollar. Now, that's to be expected to a certain degree if you consider how far gold ran up yesterday. It had this big breakout up to 2-month highs. And again, I've mentioned this several times before, but it's worth hearing again. When you trade gold and silver, to know which one have the better potential upside in any given trading day, so where the momentum is, go over to the gold to silver ratio. Okay, I'm showing you this right now. The gold silver ratio today is selling off, and that means that gold is weaker than silver. So between the two, if you miss the 2-month breakout on gold yesterday. We caught that nice big move this week to the upside. But if you missed out on the gold move, now silver is starting to wake up, and silver is lagging behind gold. So silver's now playing catch up. Silver's not broken out to 2-month highs this week. It's not had the same sort of a move, but it's now selling off with the gold to silver ratio. So the anticipation is that we should start to roll over within the next few days, and that next week I would predict or forecast that silver should outperform gold. We're at a point where silver has got a new buy signal on it. It's still trading around 1460. It's been quite muted this week, and if we see the gold silver ratio like it's doing at the moment break down more, I'm expecting silver to go up higher. So silver is the trade I'm looking at right now for, well, we're long already on silver at the moment. Okay, and that's really what I'm looking at in terms of, you can see it's breaking out at the moment, potential to come back to approximately $15. And we're really basing here higher time frames as well, but we'll take a look at that when we go over to the charts very shortly in more detail as well. Just go through some of the narratives in the market right now too, and just to give you a bit of a feel of what is happening. So of course this week we've seen a very significant decline in the stock markets, and we've seen the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, number of US equities selling off significantly. We've had JP, this is something we covered on our live trading rooms as well, the potential for these, you need to pay attention to this, especially if you trade the equity markets, but the earnings report, which are coming out today, and those were all forecast to be stronger than expected. And JP Morgan has just given their quarterly profit on Friday, and that has helped to bounce back the S&P 500, the Dow Jones. They're all starting to bounce back after the 2-day sell-off. So it's worth being aware of these news items, or certainly worth being aware if you trade equities when the earnings reports are due to come out, something that we were looking at for today, and it's indeed causing a bit of a bounce to the upside on those. Now, yesterday, of course, we saw gold breaking out to 2-month highs. The dollar sold off significantly. Gold broke out. Today it's pulling back a bit, retreating. You'll likely see profit taking. It's been such a big move that we will likely see profit taking. We hit the upper Keltner channels. We've got a short-term sell signal that's formed on gold. It's not to say it can't go higher, but short-term, I wouldn't chase the move. I'd wait for a better entry. I won't look to get back into gold today. I'll wait until next week. I have new levels on gold, and we'll be looking for new entries. But I'm long silver. I do like silver at the moment for the potential to have more upside. Oil this week. So we've been shorting oil throughout most of this week. It's been very profitable. We talked about this at the end of last week and also on the midweek webinar. If you caught the Commodities Corner webinar or commodity currency webinar that we did, we talked about the opportunity to sell into crude oil, and that we were looking at long positions on the metals. So if you caught that webinar and you were able to execute any trade ideas, well done, because those have moved pretty well over the course of this week. So oil right now, again, I bank profits on oil. We've been selling oil. I'm not looking to get back into oil today, actually. I'll wait until next week, but I will be looking for new entries going into next week. Oil right now, it's starting to retrace. It's up 1% after quite a significant decline over the last couple of days. Oil news has been very much bullish then bearish, bullish then bearish. So the fundamentals are changing quite a lot. What has helped to push more downside this week after the narrative in the market? If you look last week, everything from Bloomberg to Reuters was all about oil hitting $100 per barrel. Everything changed this week. I'm not seeing any headlines about oil going to $100 per barrel this week, but that already changed midweek after we had a report from the US Energy Information Administration. And that report, which is released on a monthly basis, suggested that oil output in 2018 is expected to grow quickly, more than previously forecast, to a record high. That started to cause a sell-off on oil. That further continued yesterday as well. There's now concerns about adequate supply in the market, that there is enough to cause the price to stabilize for now. Probably as we get closer to November, again, the sanctions on Iran will come back into focus. That was a major driver for oil to go out and hit the $80 per barrel level, and over $85 for Brent crude oil. And it could come back into the narrative again going into next week and provide support. But at the moment, oil's a bit choppy. We've got the Baker Hughes oil rig count coming out later on today. Chart structure wise, sentiment has been bearish this week, but it's oversold now. It could bounce back next week, but I'm looking to reposition on oil as we go into next week after a very profitable week on crude oil, selling into it throughout most of this week. Okay, so with that, let's go over to the charts. I'll talk you through some of the trade ideas that I'm looking at the moment. So right now, in fact, this is just triggered before the commodities corner. I'm on Australian dollar, US dollar. This is the 1 hour time frame. I'm now long. I've got long on this about 20 minutes ago, 25 minutes ago. So I see the potential for Australian dollar, US dollar to break out. So I'm showing you at the moment, I'm showing you the 1 hour time frame, which you can see we're breaking above consolidation. And then I'll move over and just show you the daily time frame. So the daily time frame at the moment, we have a buy signal anyway. I was looking to actually execute this last night, but I decided to wait because I wasn't able to monitor it all night during the Asia Pacific session. Wanted to see if it would hold. It is holding. It's holding above the monthly pivot, the weekly pivot, the 8-day exponential moving average. It's just broken above 3 or 4 days of highs. And then what I like to do is just go lower time frame, the hourly. We've been building up pressure here throughout most of the night. It looks like we're ready now to pop higher on the Australian dollar, US dollar. I could see a move taking the price at least back up to the next pivot above. I think we're up about 5 pips on this trade now. So I'd look for at least about 20 pips higher from here, taking us up to the next daily pivot, possibly best case scenario, hit the the weekly pivot later on today, which would give us about from our entry 50 pips. Okay. So I'm looking, so this move up to the weekly pivot, if we can clear above some of that resistance, take us up to the 20-day moving average, the midpoint on the Bollinger. So that's really one of the best trade ideas that I'm looking at the moment. Okay, so going long, Australian dollar, US dollar, that's a trade that we have executed. Okay, so I'll put that right to the top of the list, and it's pretty much there right now. Okay, Australian dollar, US dollar. Look at that for a long. So with the binary platform, just for a bit of a recap on that, if you reside within Europe, you're probably well aware that you can no longer trade on binary. Okay, so the higher or lower type of trade. If you're outside of Europe, you can still do that. But if you're within Europe, you now have the ability to trade on MetaTrader 5 within binary. So you can trade this as a contract for difference, a CFD, where you can take advantage of pips. So a pip movement, and you can have that whatever volume or whatever US dollar per point or euro per point or pound per point works for you within your platform. It can be traded with MetaTrader 5. Within your binary account, if you haven't set up with that and you want to be trading CFDs, all you need to do is log into your binary account, go to the top right hand corner where you go to log in. On the drop down, you'll see a tab saying MetaTrader. Click on MetaTrader, and then it will say set up a demo account or set up a real account. Now, of course, depends on your level of experience. Set up a demo if you've never traded binary CFDs before, or if you've never traded MetaTrader 5 before. Set up a real account if you know how to trade on MetaTrader 4 or MetaTrader 5, and you can start taking advantage of these opportunities on the MetaTrader 5 platform. So that's now available to all European clients. You can trade on MetaTrader 5. Okay, so I'm sure you're aware of that, but just as a bit of a reminder. And if you want more training on that, go to the webinars and register for our MetaTrader 5 training webinar on Forex for this month. Okay, we'll be doing these every single month. So if you want to learn more about trading specifically on the MetaTrader 5 platform, how to set up your charts, how to set up the templates, how to set up indicators, how to execute trades on MetaTrader 5 on binary.com, just register for those training webinars. Okay, and we'll help you with that. Okay, good. Right, so with that, trade ideas, Australian dollar, US dollar, we're long. Okay, the other trade I quite liked today was the euro pound for a potential opportunity on the euro pound, but right now it's pulling back a little bit. I think I'll probably wait until the beginning of next week before getting into the euro pound. We've got some news coming out euro beginning of next week as well, where we could see some back in filling. I see the potential for nice support to come in right at the lower end of this recent consolidation range, very oversold. My anticipation with euro pound is that next week will steadily fill the breakdown that we saw over the last week. We'll come back towards a monthly pivot, but for today, probably won't do too much euro pound, so I'll wait. That's for the watch list for next week. Okay, so have that as next week for the watch list. Okay, gold right now pulling back, overbought, hit the monthly pivot. I think that's is that 200-day? Yes, no, it's the 100-day moving average. So a confluence of resistance levels. We hit the first Keltner channel, the first monthly pivot, the 100-day moving average, all those levels of resistance, and also pretty much a round number around 1225, 1226. So not too much of a surprise to see it pull back from there. But then silver is the one. So silver is now starting to, well, it's a buy signal. It's starting to break out. What you need to know on silver. Now, this is really important. So we'll slow down a bit here, okay? When you are trading silver, there are a lot of trading systems out there that will trigger silver is a buy if it closes above the 50-day moving average today. Okay, there are a lot that will look at silver. We've been trading silver for years, and I can tell you a break and a close above the 50-day moving average today, if it happens today, and it looks like it will trigger buys for a lot of traders, not just retail traders, but institutional traders will have that come up on their system that they need to buy silver. Okay, above a close above the 50-day moving average, which is my blue line here, and we look like we've got a nice bull flag forming. I've got a new buy signal on silver anyway. Gold silver ratio looks set to roll over. Gold just broke out to 2-month highs yesterday and had a phenomenal move. Silver is lagging and needs to catch up, and we could see, I would look at this, I will forecast that today we should get a breakout to around 1480, possibly higher. Best case scenario, we could hit the monthly pivot at 1490. Or I think we will close above the 50-day moving average. Okay, so that this kind of a move today, and then we'll probably see a 3 white soldiers price action, price structure. So the next move will be at the beginning of the next week. So if you take, for example, today's candle, it may hold around the current zone, but I think it will go higher today. And then I would look for a 3 white soldiers price structure follow through move, taking the price, I'd say next week or certainly this month up to above $15 and around the monthly pivot there, which resides at $15.20. That's my forecast for silver, okay, as we get going throughout the month of October, that we will climb back above $15 here. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. And these are the follow through that I'm looking at with silver between now and the end of the month. Now, of course, silver is quite volatile. Day to day, it has quite a lot of volatility. It can easily move 2 or 3% in a day, but I've got a fresh buy signal on it. It's breaking above quite a lot of resistance. And then again, a break and a close. So the last time we saw that break and a close on the above the 50 MA was going back to the beginning of June. And then afterwards, we moved over about $1 or so on silver. That was a breaking close above the 50 MA, but just go through it yourself. In fact, I tell you what, let's go through together, okay? Because we just want to look at probability, right? When we're trading any market and what has happened in the past. So let's just look at this. It'd be interesting to just go through it and do some data checking on this just to see. I mean, I know real time it's happened a lot in the past, but we'll just do it together just so you can. I know a lot of you do trade gold and silver, so do we, of course. So we can just look at it together. Let's put it on the daily chart. Let's see the significance of the 50-day moving average. That's the 50. Let's make it really big. Okay, right. Let's go back to 2001. No, 2011. We'll go to 2011. Let's just make sure. And chart shift. Yep. Okay. Right. So yes, let's just go through this from about 2011 here, just to give you a little bit of a sense, so we can look at probability. And a lot of trading comes down to probability. What you want to look at here. Okay. Gosh, it's right. Let's make sure you get a fixed screen so it doesn't. There we go. It doesn't keep going back and forth. Right. Okay, so silver, let's go back to it. April 2011, breaking close below the 50-day moving average. Then we slid in price, stayed below the 50-day moving average. Big sell-off until June, okay, from the breakdown in April. Then once it broke and closed back above the 50-day moving average, we had this big run-up. So from June all the way to September, okay, whilst it was a bit above the 50 MA. So all the buy orders, technical systems start to buy, especially if you close above it on the daily and the weekly as well. Now, this is not for all markets. It's just something we've noted because we've traded silver so long and we're on it day to day with silver. So I remember how the market moved on breaks and closes below and above the 50 MA. Okay, so back in 2011, September, once we broke and closed below the 50 MA, provided resistance, and then we had that huge sell-off and then stayed below that until November. Several attempts to break above it, which didn't really materialize. Consolidation over most of November, broke back below it, and then stayed below that level. Then we hooked up in January 2012, breaking a close above the 50-day moving average, and suddenly this big run up from January, February, March. Okay, then break and close below the 50-day moving average back in March of 2012. Again, it just comes down to understanding trading systems. Then all signal is to sell again, and it stays in a sell, keeps providing resistance there for a long time. 50-day moving average, and then August to 2012, a break and a close above the 50-day moving average sets up for this huge run up that we had August, September, October, until we broke and closed back below it again. And you can see here, going back in 2013, breaking and close below the 50 MA. We spend all that time below it, and then breaking and close above the 50 MA in 2013. We continue to follow through here for a couple of months or so. Then we consolidate, and then break back below it. So you can see just these breaking closes. Once it's just an understanding that a lot of trading systems, particularly trend traders, and on silver as well, so it will just signal for them, regardless of what their thought process, what their overall opinion is on silver, they should be taking the trade from a trending point of view. A break and a close above the 50 MA, they should be going long from a very technical point of view. Sell it there, buy it here. Okay, so I hope that gives you just a bit of context, okay, to what we're looking at on silver. So we're basically there today. So this could, of course, so we're at the point where we could break and close above it and set up a new trend. When we consolidate and move sideways, not as relevant, but we're not likely to just see that sort of price action because we're so oversold, and gold just broke out as well to 2-month highs. We can compare it to gold, and let's just have a look. Yeah, you see that was the big break. Again, yesterday actually was the break, and trading systems would have triggered as well, and they should trigger anyway. So we'll probably maybe hit 12. Well, actually, I won't give you any level on gold right now until next week. We'll get new levels on that. We've hit the targets we were looking at. 1210, and also above that the 1226 zone. So we have new levels going into next week on gold, but it's triggered a buy, technically speaking, that break and close above the 50-day moving average. You want to encompass a lot more into your analysis, but just from an understanding of what other traders are doing. Okay, so trend traders, that would trigger that they should be buying 50-day moving average. That would be one signal that would just say buy it, regardless of your opinion on this market. Okay, so that's just one point I wanted to show you at the moment on silver. So I expect it to go higher. And then let's go over to oil as well. So crude oil. So of course on the commodities currency webinar that we did midweek, and go back to that and watch it on the YouTube channel on binary.com if you didn't get a chance to watch that and you want to learn more about correlations with oil and the US dollar, Canadian dollar, and Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar with gold as well. It can be very useful just to understand those correlations. So if we have a look at crude oil, you can see that we've had this nice breakdown in price that we were looking at this week. We had our sell signal at the end of last week, really overbought the upper Keltner channels. We had that big breakthrough on Wednesday, further follow through yesterday. Now we're at the lower end of this channel. I'll have new levels on oil going into next week. So I'm going to wait and see whether we form an inside candle, potentially whether we're just going to bounce back up towards the upper end of the range next week, which we could well do. But I'm not going to trade oil today. I've hit all the targets on oil this week, and don't have such a high probability trade set up on oil today. So we're not going to execute a new trade on that. But we will be looking at new trades on that as we go into next week, certainly. Okay, so that's crude oil. We've gone over gold, silver. We're long Australian dollar. You can see it's building up momentum now. Let's go back to Australian dollar. There we go. So it should be, it's on the verge of breaking out, isn't it? You can look at that. Should be a move up to the daily pivot there. That's my anticipation. Okay. Let's look at New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar is, it's a buy as well, actually, but I prefer the Australian dollar. US dollar CAD, I do have a sell signal on US dollar CAD, but it's dependent on oil today as well. But I do have the beginnings of a sell signal on US dollar CAD. So if it breaks through the support on the day, I don't think I'll take it today, though. I'll probably wait until next week. But technically speaking, there is a sell signal. It's just getting a bit of support right now around the midpoint of the weekly pivot. So I would prefer the long on the Australian dollar. You can see that's picking up. There we go. Picking up some momentum now. Okay, let's park that to the side. We can come back to that, see what else is looking good. The CAD Swiss franc, we were shorting that. We actually talked about that on Wednesday's webinar. Or was it Tuesday's? It was Tuesday or Wednesday's webinar on the commodities currency webinar that we delivered. Let me just double check which day that was. It was Tuesday. Yeah, so Tuesday's session is where we were looking at that. So at that point, we were talking about a sell short on CAD Swiss franc, and this was where the price was. Then on Wednesday, it broke down. So we got into that sell short. It's quite nice, actually. We hit our target on CAD Swiss franc. It's retracing a bit right now. Not really looking to do anything with that. Don't have a buy or a sell signal on it, but we've already hit our target on that for the time being. See if anything else is lining up right now. Pound Canadian dollar looks a bit vulnerable. I mean, I guess US dollar CAD, if that sells off today, we could see some of the CAD crosses pull back as well. US dollar Japanese yen getting a bit of support now. It's a nice sell, actually. Earlier on this week, we shorted that. It was quite nice to catch that move. It looks like it's completed for now. Yeah, Australian dollar, broadly speaking, will get supported in multiple currencies at the moment. Let's look at Australian dollar, Japanese yen, actually. Yeah, that looks like we're on the verge of breaking out above the highs there. But I'll stick with Australian dollar, US dollar for now. Let's go over to the S&P. Yeah, we're getting a bit of support in the S&P 500. Interesting how we filled the gap yesterday. It happens a lot. Gap down on the open, filled the gap, then reversed. I'll have new levels again going to next week on the S&P 500. It looks like we may have a higher close today if we continue to see a bounce today off the earning. I mean, gap certainly are higher on the open, but I'm not going to enter into new trades on that until next week. I have new levels on that going into next week. Euro New Zealand dollar looks a bit vulnerable if that breaks the weekly lows. Actually, that could be a good one. Put that on your radar. Pound Australian dollar as well. Not a surprise. Australian dollar is catching a bid. Euro Australian dollar should sell off as well. Pound New Zealand dollar. Oh, that looks weak as well. Yeah, platinum had a nice move yesterday. And how's the US dollar doing? Yeah, US dollar looks still a sell signal on that at the moment, although retraced today. Yeah, so I would say favorite trades right now are Australian dollar, US dollar. Long at the moment. Momentum I would anticipate it to carry it higher here. You can see that is on the move. And silver I'm long, and Australian dollar. I mean, that's really it in terms of the top trades I'm looking at. There are some other nice trades too, but I think those are, in my opinion, the highest probability for today. But probably we could see you can see Australian dollar moving quite nicely now. It's getting up about 11, 12 pips on that now. And pound New Zealand dollar, euro New Zealand dollar, pound Australian dollar, euro Australian dollar. Those all look reasonably weak at the moment, like they could roll over. But I'll probably stay with that positioning for now and see how that goes during the US session this afternoon. Okay, so I hope that helps and gives you a little bit of insight into the trade ideas, what we're looking at the moment in terms of trade opportunities right now. We'll be putting out another report which will be available tomorrow. Again, you can get access to that just by click on the link or just go over to YouTube and Google or YouTube the Gold and Silver Club and just subscribe so you're kept updated with the latest reports there as well. If you would like to gain access to trades in real time, so we've got a great community of successful traders at the Gold and Silver Club. We deliver live trading rooms during the week. You've got access to the Private Members Academy. You also have access to our trade alerts. Those are via SMS, WhatsApp, and email as well, real time as we're getting into trades too. You get access to mentorship, expert advice. You've got in-depth market analysis and insights which are provided to you via our membership site, also via our additional analysis that we provide for our private members as well. So you can get access to all of that via making an application. So it's www.jointhelivetradingroom.com to join our exclusive community of traders at the Gold and Silver Club. So if you'd like to get access to all of that, you just need to make an application to join the live trading room program. So that is www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. That link is also below YouTube videos. So if you just want to easily click on the link. It's just below our YouTube videos as well. Okay, fantastic. So I think that is it for today's session. Yes, of course, Sharice, I'll do that. Right, the next session will be coming up. That's a good point as well. So we won't be hosting the next session at the same time of 2 o'clock London time, and you can catch these updates, of course, via the webinar section on binary.com. But just to remind you that the following sessions, the next session on Monday the 22nd of October will be at 4 p.m. UK time instead of the 19th. Okay, so instead of a commodities corner next Friday at 2 o'clock, it will be on the Monday at 4 o'clock UK time. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, pleasure, Sharice. No problem at all. Okay, super. So I wish you all a fantastic weekend. Good trading. I'll see you guys on the analysis of the weekend on YouTube, right? And look forward to working with those of you who would like to join our private members live trading room program. Okay, fantastic. So thank you all. Have a great weekend. Thanks to Sharice and binary.com and the team for putting on today's webinar, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Thanks, guys. All the best and good trading.